This is a production of the Hardway HQ Podcasting Network. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Unfiltered here, HardwayHQ.com, via the Hardway HQ Podcasting Network. You can find this podcast through iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. There's so many podcasting applications you can find us on, but the aforementioned HardwayHQ.com, you can also find us on. I'm not sure, but this is Unfiltered, so you're going to get it. We're on Facebook and Twitter, Hardway HQ, Instagram at the Hardway HQ, as if there's any other one. Advertising, concerns, hate mail, John at HardwayHQ.com. That's Jon at, don't actually write at, use the A with the circles around it. Cool gimmick, cool shtick, cool deal, baby. John at HardwayHQ.com. I'm Jon Harder here in the beautiful, luxurious Hardway HQ studios for another edition of Unfiltered. Happy Valentine's Day to those who celebrate. For all you fans watching NXT TakeOver tonight, Happy Vengeance Day. Pro wrestling humor. You gotta love it. But we are here in South River, New Jersey, the mean streets of South River. And last week was a very big week for this town after the sadness and the tragedy of Officer Sicknick passed away in January from the Capitol incident. Town's been reeling a little bit. That's a proven fact. That is it's been a little downtrodden. Add the fact the snow's been coming down pretty hard lately. Been upset about how things were handled with the plow, but the town made up for it in some respects. February 6th, 2021, a great thing finally happens to this town in this new decade, and it revolves around one man, the long-awaited arrival of Drew Pearson into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Gets his induction finally. It was officially announced on February 6th after years of people clamoring and wondering, why the hell isn't Drew Pearson in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Why? It's mind-numbing. You know, for the South River people, and I'm going to post this in the You're from South River group, so shout out to all my South River River Rats. First things first. I mean, the man, he's a South River legend, and he played alongside Joe Theismann. It's not Theismann, because Theismann rhymes with Heisman. It's Theismann, folks. Joe Theismann playing here in South River High School. He went 4 years to Tulsa. Phenomenal player, inducted into the Tulsa Athletic Hall of Fame. And his football career is second to none. 156 games as a professional, over a decade of playing, 48 career touchdowns, 7,822 yards, 489 receptions, three-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro, and need we remember, 1978 Super Bowl 12, he won his one and only Super Bowl with those Dallas Cowboys. And look, I'm a Jet fan. I'm not a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. I remember the 90s when everybody jumped on that bandwagon because of Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin. I remember they were America's team, and I wasn't a Dallas fan ever. But knowing the history of this town and the legacy that Drew Pearson left behind here, seeing his success here and finally getting that Hall of Fame induction, unbelievable, especially for South River. And I first knew about Drew Pearson as a kid. I would go to school. Willett School, I was never in that area. I moved here in 91, so I would always go near Willett School and stuff like that. When I got to fourth grade, I would start going to Campbell every day in the school year. You'd play in the Denny Stadium, in the parking lot where the Campbell School parking lot was, and on that wall, on that stadium wall, you would have the numbers, retired numbers of Alex Wojciechowicz, as I probably pronounced that name terribly, Joe Theismann, Kenny Jackson, and of course Drew Pearson. Those numbers were against the wall of Denny Stadium, and if there's anything I can say here, folks, please put those numbers back up. It kind of gave the stadium a little bit of a distinction of its history and its football legacy, because this is a football town. So there's that. And you hear about the legacy of what these guys have done with their lives and their career, and more importantly than anything, not. Unlike Theismann, who I've always felt has been kind of embarrassed to be from South River. If you read a lot of simple biographies on Theismann, you would see that it's from a town near New Brunswick, New Jersey. It was on Wikipedia, a bunch of sports bios and whatnot. New Brunswick. Mr. Pearson has never been ashamed to be from this town. He is a South River guy. He is a river rat. He's a ram. He's the whole thing. Maroon and gray all the way. That's what Pearson is. And the stuff that he's done for this town over years, donating money, doing special things for this town, is unbelievable. I mean, I was talking to Ed Scanlon, contributor here, obviously, HardwayHQ.com, and we were talking about some of the things that Pearson actually did for the football team. And after, this is how big of a mark I am, fanboy. I'm a huge XFL guy, especially with the original. I loved it, and whether it's my pro wrestling love or not, I love the fact that Vince McMahon and Dick Ebersol started the XFL back in, founded it in February 2000. A year later, it started. Drew Pearson was the general manager of the XFL New York, New Jersey Hitmen, and the wild thing that I love is that after that undefeated season of the Southern football team, I went to high school during that time, and and I was a soccer player, a below average one at that. I didn't get to experience any of this stuff, but because they went undefeated and had such a memorable run, you know, all the newspapers talking about them, and the success they had in town, Drew Pearson, and combine the fact the XFL just wanted fans and seats to make the television product look great, Mr. Pearson actually donated a whole boatload of tickets to that South River football team, and one of Ed's long remembered legacies is going to an XFL New York, New Jersey Hitmen game in the freezing cold of Giants Stadium in 2001. And even though the Hitmen lost, I believe Charles Polari, I'm a big boy, I could take it. I kind of had a terrible game that day. I remember watching it on TV. Just seeing the fact that South River got to go to that game, one of the original XFL games, always envious, always jealous. And Mr. Pearson made it happen for him. If you want to go even further than that, I actually got this also from Ed. 2001, in high school, there was a game against Carteret, and Mr. Pearson actually came back to town. And before this game, South River, if I remember Ed telling me this, they never beat Carteret. It was like a long time where it never happened. And Mr. Pearson went to the locker room, according to Ed and a few other people I talked to about this, and gave this amazing speech about, you know, believing in yourself, doing what you got to do, you got to win. And South River wound up winning that game. You know, and they wound up winning another state championship, which is incredible. So Mr. Pearson's inspiration and all that stuff, it's great to see. And most of all, the stories that I've always heard about Drew Pearson is that he's such a great man. He's a phenomenal human being. And obviously he was a runner-up for the Man of the Year award, the NFL in 1980, countless charity work and contributions to the community. And he always gave back to this town. And nothing was more evident. This is now we get into, like, you know, you're talking like a fanboy and you're giving examples, but do you have any personal experience with Drew Pearson? And I actually went back to my mom on this one, Miss Monica. So shout out to Miss Monica. You know, I asked her for the story, so I remember hearing it through the grapevine, you know, and remembering it not vividly, but remembering it. My mom filled me in on the entire story. The 1994 Memorial Day Parade, our family was marching in the parade. I was in Shorty League at the time, and my middle brother, Greg, it was Memorial Day weekend, so it was his 5th birthday, but he was also marching in the parade because of T-ball. T-ball, everyone marching that Memorial Day Parade, all the athletic teams in town. And we're on David Street, and we're going down the hill. We're starting to make our way to Main Street, and all of a sudden, as we're marching, a gentleman, a tall African-American gentleman, starts holding my brother's hand and marching in the parade. And my mom turns around, again, clueless to sports, Yankee fan, and definitely not a football fan. She's never liked football, even though she will refuse to admit that she waited in line in the freezing cold to get my dad Giants tickets. That's a rib, inside family joke that did not happen, but I was told it did from my old man, and she refuses to admit it. I would never wait in line for football tickets. So she's looking to turn back, and she looks at my dad and goes, who the hell is that? And my dad, being a huge football fan and obviously knowing, you know, great players, and goes, you don't know who that is? Mom goes, no, I don't know who that is. My dad goes, that's Drew Pearson. That's Drew Pearson. That's a famous football player in town. She goes, why would I know that? I don't know anything about football. And and as it turned out, you know, it was a big thing, and my brother and Drew Pearson marching the parade, and he's celebrating and you know, just marching, walking with my brother, and I guess Greg told Drew Pearson it was his birthday. It was his 5th birthday. Now this is the cool thing I did not know. We're marching up Hillside Avenue. We were about to turn on the main street, because then you would go down that parade route. And Drew Pearson walked into Hillside News when it was owned by Raj. Hillside News, that corner of Main Street and Hillside, right before they went out of business and Raj sold, and a couple other guys tried to run things out of there. I know it was a photography studio from a girl I graduated with. She had it there twice, and it was a doggy groomer spot, and weird place. But Hillside News was the corner star. As a kid, I would always go to pick up the newspaper and the bagels for my folks. And Drew Pearson went inside Hillside News and actually bought my brother chips and a soda for his birthday. It was like nothing more than $3. But the fact that he even did that shows the type of man Drew Pearson is. And I love hearing that story. I loved hearing it from my mom, getting verification to talk about it, and just shows the type of human being Drew Pearson is. He's a good man. And in South River, a lot of the times you make it out of this town, you don't look back. These men really never look back all that much. A few other athletes have never really looked back, especially at that successful level. And for everyone that talks about how great Theismann is, Drew Pearson, for me, was looking back at all these old videos and clips on YouTube and hearing about the history of him, better athlete, in my opinion, a better humble man. And there's nothing more great than to see someone in town get their opportunity at immortality. And now that I know I have to go to Canton because I want to get the photo of the bust of Drew Pearson, and I know the town is insanely happy. I see everyone in the South River group and people in town celebrating this fact. It's a big thing for South River. And Drew Pearson, the fact that you did that little thing for my brother, and it's a family moment that we've had, and the giving back to South River and the community, and the XFL, which I'm personally a huge mark for. Thank you very much. Thank you for all that you've done, and it's great to see humility and humbleness. And in my opinion, and I don't know about anybody else, you're the greatest ambassador to South River, New Jersey that we've ever had, especially like an entertainment athletic route. So my hat's off to you, Mr. Pearson. My hat's off to you. And South River, we got one. So I just want to do this and just say congratulations to Drew Pearson. And HardwayHQ.com, please help us out. We're a South River-based organization. Facebook and Twitter, Hardway HQ. Instagram, The Hardway HQ. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to build this thing up. I can't get a name yet because watch hours and all that stuff. But again, just HardwayHQ.com. We're South River born and bred, so we're trying to build this thing up through town. Make this something for this town to be proud of, just like they are for Mr. Pearson. So Drew Pearson, congratulations. Number 88 lives forever. Number 15 in South River's hearts. Put the number back on the wall, town, please. All right, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jon Harder. This is Unfiltered. HardwayHQ.com.